What's up, future shred lords? Welcome back. Death to the fingers. Wow, did that ever escalate, eh? Oh, what a week we've been having. Woo! Man, you should be on Twitter today. Oh boy, man, I saw some stuff on there that made me laugh out loud. Yikes. People are like, man, I really wish you would just go back to doing the music thing. And I'm just like, bro, listen, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was hide behind music when I was getting a divorce, and it absolutely ruined me. There comes a time when you have to basically take your passion and put it aside a little bit and have this real world conversation because apathy, I'm telling you, has major level consequences. And you can pretend to be like, well, I just don't want to have anything to do with it. It doesn't matter. We're talking about things that have been put into motion here, if you will, that cannot be undone and have serious consequences. I don't think people fully realize or appreciate now the full extent of some of the things that are going on. You know, they just don't, because they don't see it. Like, you got to be able to follow the breadcrumbs. The first one that really creeped me out, and this is going to be purely conspiracy video territory here, so whatever. But these are verified. I looked into them myself, but I'm going to paraphrase. Essentially, the ICE people, right, doing the deportations, can take a picture of you now, and it links up to a database run by Palantir or other companies that are adjacent to it, and search through a massive database now of information and basically come up with who you are. Now, in the old days, and of course it's still true, you had a certain measure of privacy, but now they've managed to circumvent that privacy by saying, well, this is plain view doctrine, and I can take a picture of a video. It's like taking the First Amendment sort of, or the First Amendment auditor concept, and then reverse engineering it and being like, now we can take a picture of you, but then do an illegal sort of search in all these databases and match up a face to the name. And it's because most people don't know how to fight to have their rights upheld and have that stuff thrown out of court, be like, this is an illegal search, right? That led to, ill-gotten gains, if you will, for the police. That's what I mean. The right to privacy, gone. Basically, in places like Australia, it seems like the UK, they expect people to give up government identification and submit to biometric sort of face scans. You know what I mean? To get on the internet, get on social media. Now, don't tell me you're not afraid of the youth if you're doing stuff like that, because you know that these measures have nothing to do with protection. You see it on YouTube too. That's why it's gonna die. That's why I'm just like, you know what? It doesn't fucking matter anymore, man. We're just gonna put out the videos. We're gonna put out the fucking videos until the wheels fall off, because quite frankly, I've seen too much evidence now with respect to the YouTube thing where most of the good content creators, I guess you could say, that drive a lot of traffic, they're just like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I'm done fighting with YouTube. Fuck them. So, I'm just going to be real with everybody. I mean, I'm still going to make the videos, of course, because I like doing it, but it's just going to be whatever it is, because I don't give a shit either. It's just messed up right now. And it is what it is. You got to keep putting out the message and keep putting things out there. But that was the first thing I noticed right away, was this crazy surveillance nonsense. I was just like, that's nuts, man. You know what I mean? That is absolutely crazy. It's like up here in Canada, they're going after legal gun owners, but they're basically impotent or incompetent. They can't actually stop the illegal gun stuff that goes on in the big cities. I'm like, oh, okay, so shouldn't we just basically enshrine castle doctrine and stand your ground and let people go strapped everywhere? I imagine that would cut down on crime. Then you saw some of the other psycho stuff. Police chief basically saying, oh, yeah, I don't know, just comply with the criminals. Before that, they were like, oh, just leave your keys by the front door. So if they kick in the front door, they'll just grab the keys and leave. Oh, yeah, no, that's just what they're going to do. And now there's video of these people showing up with like these heavy duty sort of axes with, they're almost like sledgehammers, and they just batter down the door, of course. And that just goes to show you that, your $1 million home is made of like the cheapest materials known to man, with no real security features whatsoever. It's totally illusory. And now the police can't protect you, or won't. And then when the criminals do get arrested and stuff like that, like places up here in Canada, we've done such a bad job of keeping up with the fact that when you increase the population by tens of millions of people, you're increasing the prison population too. But they didn't build any prisons. So now we're way maxed out. So they just let them back onto the streets because they're like, well, it's overcrowded. And plus other people that were already waiting and doing time are basically invoking the Constitution now, being like, you have a specific amount of time to prosecute me, and if you don't do it, then that's constitutional violation. And they just walk. And honestly, you might even be able to make an argument there that they could turn around and sue and be like, you didn't give me due process. As silly as that is, but there it is. Like, holy, are you kidding me? So the wheels are just coming off. All the conspiracy theories are coming home to roost. And once you see them like time after time after time, they just get swept under the carpet. You know what I mean? Las Vegas, nobody knows what went on. Swept under the carpet. Lahaina in Hawaii, basically burned to the ground, man. I saw footage there. Now listen, granted, I wasn't there, and it's kind of hard to vet it. But, like those plastic hubcaps from cars and stuff being melted. Only half the building or whatever being melted or burned and stuff. The other half's perfectly fine. It's just, there are a lot of questions there. I'm not saying believe the conspiracy theories. I'm just saying that's not normal. How does a guy get up in a, like a secured hotel with like an arsenal? Get set up, you know what I mean? I'm just like, what? Bro, what? Seriously? During a big concert. That gets to, the Donald Trump stuff. We almost know nothing about this kid that basically whatever. Or his parents, anything, nothing. You have all of these other ones, the transgendered ones that were going off. Nothing. You can't even see their writings, their crazy writings to sort of rationalize it in their own way. You've got a couple high profile ones. There's that one there, this Carmelo Anthony dude. That's been going on for a while, where that kid got stabbed or whatever, allegedly. I don't know. I don't really follow it, you know what I mean? But another Gong Show. There's the Rampage Jackson stuff where that guy just went nuclear. And I saw the video of that. I mean, I was shocked. It was just as brutal as the Charlie Kirk stuff. It's just as brutal as the bus stuff with the Ukrainian refugee. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was even more mental because it was clearly premeditated. And that the relentlessness of it was just a symptom. And that's just it, with the Charlie Kirk thing. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. Like, that's just, you don't do that in a civilized society. Doesn't really matter if you like the person's political position or social position or whatever it is. It's words, man. If you can't defend or debate the person, then take the loss and either educate yourself to be better or just get out of the game altogether, right? So, but at the same time, Charlie was definitely instigating, you know what I mean? And when you sort of take it to an extreme like that with these people, well, they, like there's a whole breed of left-wing sort of ideologue, politically speaking, that is just so far gone and so radicalized at this point that they cannot function normally in society. Just like there's really extreme right-wing people or really extreme religious people, I don't care what the extreme is or where it comes from. There are people that basically radicalize themselves so far into one position that you can't talk to them anymore. The ideological subversion is just total and complete. Doesn't matter if you actually present to them evidence and be like, at least consider it, and be like, consider changing your position a little bit, because what you think is totally wrong. But you can't. And that's just it. Those people are absolutely capable of and prepared to engage in really, really wacko stuff like what we just saw. And let's face it, the people that are really responsible are the idiots in Congress and in the Senate and in the, the Oval Office and in the prime ministership here in Canada, and all these idiot MPs and stuff like that with their incessant virtue signaling and their inane political rhetoric that just creates these war zones, I guess you could say. And that's just it. Look, before it used to be like, all right, I'm not really too keen on the right and vice versa. But, it wasn't, it's just like we don't really hang out with those people, but they're, some of them are okay. Now it is like, I hate the right. I mean, I won't serve them in my restaurant. I think these people should be sent to re-education camps and vice versa. You have people, religious people, Jews versus Christians, Jews versus Muslims, Muslims versus Christians, Christians and other denominations inside Christianity duking it out, like the Mormons, the Catholics, or whatever's going on there, the Protestants, right? Like, then you got the political debates, right? Like, still the tried and true, the Republicans suck, or the Democrats suck, or the liberals or the conservatives, whoever. It's the same stupid, dichotomy basically reflected over and over and over again, meaninglessly. Whether you have 2 parties or 4 parties or 5 parties or 12, these same sort of divisions. And honestly, a big portion of the other parties are useless. And here's the thing. When was the last time your politician actually did something for you? I thought the whole point of government was just to have different viewpoints, yes, but not to go there adversarially and just basically be like, we're not going to work with anybody. We're going to actively stymie your agenda to try to make the country better. Instead of, well, we lost legitimately, so we have to, in good faith, if you will, work with these people to try to implement their agenda as far as we feel is necessary, to accomplish a goal of making life better for the everyday person in our country. Like, that's just it. Like, I mean, even the idea that your representative even gives a shit about what it is that you want actually done. Whatever that is, lower taxes, immigration, law enforcement, whatever. Crime, I guess, that whole paradigm, law and order, whatever, right? Like, are you kidding me? It's like they get elected and then they just go there and just do whatever they want. I mean, the utter insanity of it too is just like people like AOC go there, they're like wearing dresses that say tax the rich and everything. Then they're selling $60 sweaters that say tax the rich. And then within 5 years, they have like a $30 million fortune on a $200,000 salary. Now, I don't know about you, but that just seems incredibly strange to me that someone could accumulate that much wealth in such a short period of time with basically limited resources, even if you were investing your own money into the stock market. You really turn that into $30 million? Because I know people that have been working at it for a while and they're doing pretty good, sure, but 30 million good? No. Not even close. And I asked them that point blank too. I'm just like, realistically speaking, is that feasible? Let's say you're the luckiest person. They're like, no. So, I mean, anyone? Like Obama never had a real job and stuff like that, but somehow manages to own 5 properties worth $50 million. I mean, the Martha's Vineyard one alone was like $13 million. How? And I'm not being selective here, man. Pick. There's a whole bunch of the Republican ones that are worth insane amounts of money, 200 million at least. Right? And it's just like, are you kidding me, man? You're worth $200 million? How? That's not a problem. We're worried about the billionaires that are enriching these people into the millionaire class. But these people ultimately make the shots. They write the laws. So who has to be held accountable? They do. That's who. It's no point in hating on the liberals. You have to basically go right to the politician and be like, listen, boys, I get it. It's all been fun and games and just, gorge yourself at the public trough and all the rest of it. Stuff your pockets full of as much money as you possibly can. Got it. All the freebies. But that's got to be over. And you can either end it of your own volition or we'll end it for you. And of course, it gets messy when that happens. So... and that's just it. Have the conviction to basically carry through. Because, I mean, what is the alternative here? It's either going to sort of work itself out based around some sort of mechanism that we already have in place, to try to keep things relatively peaceful, or it's just going to blow up like Mount Vesuvius and turn into an absolute shit show, which is highly probable. Because this kind of issue is sparking up everywhere. And it's like there is so much frustration and anger. And it really feels like, like the constant ratcheting up of the stress and the hit after hit after hit after hit. People can't handle it anymore. You can see that with the Charlie Kirk thing. It's not just the fact that it clearly shocked people, but the response was so aggressive on both sides. Right? So I'm just like, you do realize there's places out there like China, right, that hate our guts. They would love for a civil war to spark off. People think it can't get any worse. Wait until there's no food in the grocery store. None of your electronics work. All of a sudden, critical infrastructure systems start breaking down because we can't get materials. We offshored all of that material, expertise, and manufacturing ability over to the East, right? The Chinese and the Eastern countries build those now. And they ship them to us, and it made sense during globalism, but now the world's fracturing along new lines. And you can see that Russia, China, and India are trying to form their own axis. And it goes even further than that. It's got tentative ties to the Middle East. It goes definitely into South America, which probably feels slighted by the United States to the point where Donald Trump sent like the military down there. Looks like we're going to have another hot war popping off against Argentina or whoever it is. What? What's going on there, boys? Venezuela or some shit. I don't know. Still haven't resolved the Ukraine stuff. Apparently there's shenanigans going on in Poland, so that doesn't look like it's dying down. Of course, You have the NATO idiots being like, "Oh yeah, no, we can win this." I'm just like, "Boys, come on, man. Let's be real. A few well-placed drones into some major European cities that do some strategic but catastrophic damage is going to have a massive knock-on effect for the population to be like, "Oh, okay." So it'll be like it was back in the 1940s. No, I thought we were done with this, right? And they'll just instantly turn against these morons that are tenuously holding on as is. And that's really the problem is once you lose control of the monster, it just flies out of control, right? Charlie Kirk thing, although incredibly tragic, is it's a flashpoint too for something much worse. And trust me, I'd love for these people to be held to justice. The fact of the matter is that we're so reliant and dependent on so many of these fallible systems that we are not in control of. It's basically suicide. I mean, if we were all making our own food and preserving it, and we had working farms and stuff like it was in the 1800s and the 1700s when the first one sparked off, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But at least 80% of us are relying on going to the grocery store to get food. And if you were paying attention during COVID-19, and there's been many other times since then, our grocery store just gets picked clean. I've never really seen food shortages before, but I've seen them in my own grocery store now. I'm just like, that's nuts. Just because there's so many more people here. So, you know what I mean? I want to be optimistic and be like, let's talk about music and play music and we can, hope for the best. But I mean, let's be real, man. Music is like already been reduced down to, an oddity or whatnot. It's like we are so inconsequential in the big picture. We don't even have any social cred anymore. We're just like elevator music for the Armageddon. It's just sad. Right? So, I mean, just what would be the point? It's better to be like, listen, man, stockpile water and some food and possibly the ability to, heat your apartment with a small sort of like homemade stove, tea light, the little sort of pot, or you get a little kettle or so, I don't know, whatever you got, whatever's necessary, you know what I mean? Because quite honestly, I mean, we're talking about potentially going into a situation where there's going to be scarcity or worse. And that's just it. We already let millions of people in here that we didn't even bother to vet. And they came in from both the south and from the north. We're just as much to blame as Mexico. I mean, who knows who walked across our porous borders? Either way. So that means they've probably infiltrated both Canada and the United States, can easily paralyze us on both sides of the border. No problem, man. We are starting to get far outnumbered by groups of people that have nothing in common with North America. They're Indian, or they're Middle Eastern, or they're from whatever country they're from, really. It just seems like, oh, here, we'll just put 40,000 people here. I'm just like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, up here in Canada, I think in 5 years, maybe even less than that, we put like 3 million people in this country. 3 million! 3+ million. It's like almost 3.5 or something like that. It was absolutely nuts. You know what I mean? So we don't really know who's here and what they're capable of. And clearly, we didn't really start to think it through because crime is skyrocketing, and you're seeing that down in the States. Social cohesion is completely dissolving. Perfect grounds for being saboteurs. And then all of a sudden, the electrical grid goes down because a couple good, well-placed charges, and it's it. Game over. And once the dominoes start to fall, then then what? Like, the more we're like, govern me harder, daddy, and be like, bring down the police state, You're seeing what the kind of stuff that Palantir is rolling out. They're talking about remote drone stations. They call it for like first response and stuff like that. But really, you know what I mean? Like, would you really want to be hiking out in the forest and then all of a sudden on the horizon you see this drone watching you? I mean, that'd be kind of unsettling, don't you think? You know what I mean? Like, always being watched like that, or the potentiality that it could happen. That's crazy. They already have this massive surveillance grid going up right now with cameras and all kinds of stuff that are actually already using the same kind of AI technology that they were developing in China for their social credit scores that monitor personnel. I mean, the noose is tightening, which means that we're moving more towards the equilibrium future. If you've ever seen that movie where, you know, we'll have sense police or whatever they're called, you know, the emotion police. There'll be no place for music. There'll be music, but it'll just be mindless slop like that they play at the insane asylum to keep you pacified or whatever it is. You know what I mean? They don't want you thinking. They don't want anybody thinking anymore. And that's just it. That's why we can't just make videos about music anymore. We have to talk about real world stuff. And I know that this video will get no views. I understand that. I've understood that for a long time. They don't want you actually listening to reason and thinking for yourself, but that's just it. We still have to promulgate these ideas no matter what. So I appreciate every single one of you, especially if you stuck to the end and start to really think about your situation. Make a bug out bag. Find a place to go outside of town if you can. Even if you scope it out, sometimes there's like abandoned campgrounds and stuff that have cabins there. You could probably get up there and have a place to just bug out for a while, at least for, you know, however long, because if things spark off, you can pretty much guarantee you're looking at probably at least a year to 2 years of pretty serious fighting and stuff, and then they'll just destroy the infrastructure in the interim. It's sink or swim at that point, man. If you can't grow your own food and be self-sufficient, and just be like content with no things like no internet or whatever else, or just be able to make your own fuel source, if you will, to create electricity, you know, to maybe turn on the ghetto blaster and play some music, you know, with a steam engine. I don't know. You might be able to do it, but there it is, right? So I think we'll do some music stuff on Sunday. I got a new one for the piano I want to mess around with. I want to show you guys because it's pretty cool. But in the interim, keep your head on a swivel. Prepare for the worst. And honestly, just start to think about where we're going as a world and what you should be doing to try and to, you know, get us back on the straight and narrow rather than veering off here into psycho land. Rest in peace, Charlie. Wish you all the best and your family, buddy. That sucks. We'll see you in the next one.